Today, I'm going to talk about the $150,000 bet that I have and how close I am actually to winning it. Welcome back, everyone. Today, I'm just going to do my very best to go over my stats and then clarify the bet that I currently have in golf and how important it is to this entire channel and kind of the whole reason this even started. So to give a little bit of backstory, I started playing golf technically in August of last year in 2023. Before then, I've picked up a club before. I've been at Topgolf. I've played a little bit of mini putt here and there, like, 5 rounds of mini putt in my life, but definitely never played an organized game of golf. Never played a round. Been to the driving range with friends clubs, but things like that. In reality, I have what I would equate to less than 5% experience in the game. I watched the sport a little bit. I'd follow it. I did like the sport, but I just didn't understand the rules that much, and obviously I didn't play the game that much. Fast forward to last year. I was playing golf a little more as I saw it as a great sport for me to get into, to kind of learn the game, to play something, to stay competitive as I got older. Like any sane person, I thought that betting or getting a bet would be a good idea. As I started to understand golf, I realized that there's a scoring system, a handicap system, if you will, and I had just come off of playing a couple of seasons or a couple of leagues in bowling, so I was familiar with how the handicap system worked there. I understood it. I liked that. No matter your skill level, the handicap should allow you to always stay competitive. That's where golf comes in. Handicap system here, very easy to understand, easy for me to play almost anyone heads up in stroke play or match play. If they give me strokes, it makes it easy. I like that. I like that I could stay competitive no matter my skill level. And as I got better, I'd lose strokes, obviously. But I like the idea of all these things. As I started getting into golf a little more in August last year, I realized quickly that my goal would be to get into the single digits. It's something that, if I'm not mistaken, less than 5% of the golfers that ever pick up a club ever get to, which is insane. It might be even less than that. It might be like 2%. But the point being, it's really difficult. And anytime you tell me I can't do something or something is difficult, I'm going to do my damnedest to do it. The only thing is, if I'm going to put this much time, money, and effort, which is all things that you need with golf, specifically the money and time portion, I had to make it kind of worth my while, at least in this expedited sense. I looked for a bet. I reached out on Twitter and Instagram looking for a bet, looking for action, and a pretty sizable amount. I know that obviously I'm a dog to get to where I was at. Technically, where I was at in my handicap wise at the start of this was in the mid 30s, so about as bad as you can possibly get if you're keeping your handicap or keeping track of it. And we had to shave off somewhere in the neighborhood of 25-ish strokes, something ridiculous like that, to get the single digit. So obviously I'm really scared and worried about if I can actually complete this task, but I knew just because of my personality, for this to work, I needed to have a little bit of extra boost to help me, and obviously my competitive itch and my competitive edge would sink in and I would just go for it, really. So we ended up finding a buyer, a bidder I should say, Mr. Ethan Rampage Poker. He's a fellow YouTuber and one of my really good friends. He took some persuading, to be fair. He is such a sweetheart. He didn't want to negative sweat me. So that phrase meaning that obviously I'm going to be getting good at this, and he didn't want to not root for me. Like, we both push each other in this bet. He's picking up golf and he's played golf longer than I have, but he's really pushing himself as well to try to get the single digit handicap for a separate bet that we'll touch on momentarily. But the point being, it's rough when you bet against your friend, especially for this amount of money, but it had to be made. After some persuasion, I got him to agree to a bet. We agreed for my $10,000 to his $150,000, so 15 to 1. So for every $10,000 I put, he has to put 15 times more than that. $10,000 for my end, $150,000 for his end, that I can get down to a single-digit handicap by August 23rd of 2024. As it stands, today is June 16th. So technically, the countdown has started. We are less than 70-ish days away from our final date, and things are getting really close. I'm going to pull out my phone here so we can talk a little bit about what my stats currently are. I use two apps. I use the GHIN, the USGA app, to track my actual handicap. And then before we start touching on stats, let me clarify the bet. So the bet stipulations are the bet is valid until August 23rd, 2024, meaning my handicap must be below 10, so 9.9 or better by the time August 23rd midnight comes through. So obviously the handicap system that we're using is going to be the GHIN model, GHIN, USGA. Every time I play around, excluding executive or par 3 courses, I must put it into GHIN. And also the big stipulation that we agreed to in our bet was that this would encompass all of our rounds. We are allowed to play from the white tees, which is the furthest male white tee. So I don't know what they have it. I don't know if it's different from course to course, but pretty much the tees after the women's tee. So that's really big for me because I don't have a ton of distance off the tee. Ethan, on the other hand, does. He can hit the ball like 320 when he catches it clean. So a little sketchy because he can really kill some of these par 5s. Oddly enough, it's my worst scoring holes, par 5s, and we'll get into that in a second. So it's pretty simple. We follow all the rules as per USGA. A couple of things are different. So if we hit a ball OB off the tee, what we agreed to is that wherever it hit crossed land last, we're allowed to take a drop, take a 1-stroke penalty, and we're hitting from 3 there. The other big thing is no mulligan. So it's a little embarrassing when I top a drive or I top a tee shot and my playing partners say, hey, just take a mulligan. And there's a lot of times you guys will see it on this YouTube channel where I just can't because there's too much money involved. And the last thing I'm going to do is cheat my friend out of money. It's just not how I'm programmed. I'm going to beat him, and I'm going to beat him straight up. I'm going to beat him with the rules we set, and I'm going to feel really proud of myself for doing so. So we're not allowed to take any mulligans. There's no breakfast balls. Although we recently talked about maybe we should add a breakfast ball, especially if you don't warm up before the course. I think there's probably no harm with that one there, but haven't ironed that one out yet, but definitely no mulligan. So if you hit a shit shot, you're fucked. You just hit a shit shot. So if that wasn't gross enough, after I'd say about 3 months of this bet starting, Ethan wanted to pick up golf for his own reasons and really go ham in it. He's obviously has a long history and background in sports as well. He played a pretty high level of baseball himself, was a pitcher in high school. So he wanted to get back into golf and needed a reason to. So we made a $10,000 bet, heads up, a second bet, where it's now a race between him and I to get down to single-digit handicap. The only stipulation in this rule is if we cannot make that happen within 3 years, we agree to play a heads-up match play battle to settle the beef then, the $10,000 beef then. So if for some reason him and I can't get down to single digits before 3 years ends up, so let's call it 2027, him and I will play heads up. We'll do a YouTube video for it, of course. And whoever wins that match play wins a $10,000. That's how we're going to do it. So there's technically an expiration date on this. That's pretty much the bets that I have currently. There's a couple of things that I'm thinking about in my little head, but obviously there's a lot that needs to happen before we can get even to that point. But for now, let's go over our stats here, and we'll talk a little more in depth as to where I currently stand, how far I am from my actual goals, and what I see myself doing in the future. We currently have our 18 Birdies app. So it seems like we've played 31 rounds. I've done my best to delete some of the rounds that are irrelevant or I didn't get a chance to finish. So if I get out there and play 4 holes before dark at the country club, I just don't put them in because I don't know how it affects your handicap, and if I don't finish a round or at least play 9 holes, I just don't put it in on here. Although I don't know why I would take it off, because at the end of the day, we're not even using 18 birdies for our tracking of handicap. We're using it again. All that to be said, our average round right now is about 85. And my current handicap on this thing says 14.2, but on GHIN, I think I'm 13.4. So not that big of a difference, but, it is what it is. My best run ever was a 65, I guess. I don't know where I shot 65, but let's see. I'm trying to find the stats stuff here. More stats. There we go. So what to work on up and down versus most players, they're 28.9%. And I'm currently at 40%. So that seems pretty decent. I want to break 80. That's my next goal, obviously. So we need to get at least, it says 1 birdie a round. We need to get 9 greens in regulation. We need to hit more fairways because we're not doing that too much. And we need to get more pars. We're doing pretty good on the pars thing, I think. But, I think there's a way to fix this. So it's currently showing our all rounds. I'm going to switch this to the last 30 days so you can kind of get a better understanding of where the game currently sits. And this is where I think it's the most shocking. This is not normal, and I know this for sure. So I'm 3.4 scoring average on par threes, which I'm pretty sure is not normal. That's usually people's biggest struggling hole, but it's where I feel the most confident. My iron striking is very reasonable, and I feel most comfortable with an iron in my hand. Anytime I get fairway woods, and specifically the driver in my hand, is where things go really bad. As you can see there, 6.4, so I'm 1.5 strokes behind par on par fives. And everyone loves par fives because obviously it's longer, but you have more strokes to get to par. And bogey is a little tougher, but I'm doing worse in bogey, which is a little bit worrisome. It's definitely where I struggle and, yeah, where I feel a little frustrated as my game is not growing in a better fashion. If you look in the last 90 days, it's not a whole lot better. We're still doing worse than bogey a hole every time we play a par five. So kind of a telling stat, and where I think you guys can see pretty obviously where my troubles lie. I do my very best to not lose balls off the tee. I think that's where I have gained a lot of strokes, is by not taking that penalty, that drop penalty, and just keeping the ball in play. There's a world where we get a little closer to this end date, and I will suck up my pride, and I will hit 6 iron, 7 iron into par fives just to give myself a look at a birdie or a par, and I won't feel bad about it at all, because right now eagle's not something that I really care about, and the distance that I'm gaining off the tee, although it is really important and distance is key, the putt for dough and drive for show thing is a furthest thing from the truth. The one thing that is true is that OB is never good. Doesn't matter how far you hit it, how short you hit it. If you're going out of bounds and losing a stroke and getting penalties, it's a disaster, and that's just a fact. The good thing is that as of late, we're doing a pretty good job of staying under our goal, which is breaking 90. As it currently sits, we want to be somewhere around 86 to 83-ish, 84-ish whenever I finish a round. And that's going to get us closer to what I feel like is striking distance. In my last couple rounds, I've really fallen back in love with my putter. I was using the broomstick for the last 3 months, fell out of love with it. But I think like any sane person, whenever you fall out of love, you find another putter. And I think that's a bad idea. I'm just going to stick to the broomstick. I do my best keeping it online. The only thing I need to work on now is speed. And that kind of wraps in to what the final thoughts I have are. This bet is obviously a really big deal. It'll free roll my entire cost. It's been super expensive getting into golf, like an ungodly amount. But I'm happy with the current clubs in my bag. I'm done changing them. Right now, it's just a home stretch. It's just about getting time out in the course, playing as much as I possibly can, and doing my best with what I have, where I'm at in my game. The only thing that I want to really improve on moving forward, in reality, is 2 things: my tee shots, specifically my driver, and my speed when I putt. Everything else I can live with. I don't really hosel rocket balls that often anymore. Like, I'm good at putting bat on ball or a club on ball. And if I don't hit the green, it's not the end of the world. I think I'm okay at chipping around the greens. It's probably where I have the biggest advantage on Ethan specifically. And everything else, I think I'm serviceable for my handicap. But I know for a fact that I hit the ball significant. My ball speed and my club head speed is way faster than what my handicap should be. My ability as a putter, I think, is significantly better than where my handicap should be. I think the problem is so apparent. It's just a driver. So now it's just about putting the time there. But that's kind of where I stand. Hopefully I clarified the bet. So now anytime I refer to the bet, I'll put this in the link of my description so you guys kind of understand it better. But until next time, I love you guys very much. Stay happy, stay healthy, and more importantly, run good on the greens, y'all. See you guys in the next episode. Deuces.